Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we'll be actually talking about Datsun Ignition modules, in particular for the Z car. So we've got the 74 260Z ignition module, we've got the 75 to 76 Datsun 280Z ignition module, and then we got the 77 to 78 Datsun ignition module for the 280Z. And this is the one we're actually going to be focusing on today. I've got a whole nother video going over this particular ignition module in my video on my other channel. I'll be posting a link to that in this video so you can go to the description and watch the video if interested in this one. This one here, I've still got to do some studying. It's the manual sucks. I'm just going to say it. And I'll show you what I mean by that later in this video. But for now, let's move these out of the way. And let's focus on this one right here. So this module is actually number E1227 is the actual module number. And of course these are all made by Hitachi. But anyways, let me go over how this one wires up for you. So looking inside of our 78 280Z manual, we'll flip over here to this. And I've got the page saved. Right there it is. I just missed it, didn't I? It's right in here somewhere. I've got the page marked. There it is, right there. Okay, so here's looking at our module here, and basically I'm going to show you kind of how this thing wires up the pinout first of all, and I'll show you in practical use how this thing actually functions. So if we look at our connection, we got black-white right here, which is our positive. So if we follow that out, it goes right here to the center terminal, which if we look at the box, we'll flip the box up here so we can look at it at the same time. So it's going to be that center pin right there. It's the pin by itself. The upper one has the basically the marking here, so you can't plug the connector in wrong. So we got black white, which is your positive. We got black, which is your it's going to be your earth ground, engine earth right here. If you follow that out, we're going around here, and there we are to black. So that's going to be your ground. Now that's going to be this bottom terminal here. I'm sorry, that's going to be your top terminal. That's going to be this top terminal right here. And then this bottom terminal is actually L, which is your actual ignition coil negative connection. So if we follow that out right here, you can see we go over here and we go to the negative side of the coil. Now what this thing does is it makes a ground when it triggers the coil. That's how it works. It does everything off ground. It doesn't affect the positive. So you've got that. So that's your L, which L is blue, just so you know. Anytime you see a Datsun manual that has a schematic and it says L, that's a blue wire reference. And then you've got green and red over here, which green is your top connector right here, and then red is your bottom connector. Now what that is, if we follow those two out, they're actually the pickup of your distributor. So there's your reluctor, there's your pickup coil, and there's your junction box under the hood right there, terminal block, and there's your green and red. You can see it follows the same color all the way through the harness over here. So red once again is the bottom right here, and then green will be the top. So anyways, now since you see how that works, we're going to wire this thing up and I'll show you how you can actually test these things. So once again, in the 78, I don't think I mentioned this yet actually, in the 78 280Z, the 77, 78, it doesn't require a ballast resistor. In the 75, 76 or 74s, they require a resistor between the positive side of your coil to actually reduce the current through the coil. It's basically a voltage and current limiter for your coil, so it don't burn up as quickly. In this one here, it already has a circuitry in this box, so you don't need the ballast resistor in line with it. So just to keep that in mind here. So let me get this thing wired up here and I'll show you how it actually works. So now I have everything connected here. As you can see, we've got the box here with the gator clips. I'm going to kind of walk you through the setup here. So this little incandescent bulb here connects this yellow line. That's actually a representation of our coil. So this would be a like example of your high voltage coil, or ignition coil. We got red, which is your main power into the box. We got green here, which is your ground. So it comes over here to the top side of this guy. Red, of course, is your positive, your power input. Then we got green and black, which would represent the green and red of the pickup of your distributor, which you can see I've got the wires right over here to a distributor. Now this is a non-California distributor, so we have the advanced pickup. We're only using the retard pickup. And so we've got power applied. So when I rotate this distributor by hand, you'll see this little light bulb actually blink, as you can see there. So I'm rotating this thing by hand, and there is our actual light bulb. So that's an easy way to test this thing. You can also test it in the car with the distributor still in the motor. You can actually take your blue wire off your coil, connect a test probe, like with the incandescent bulb in it, like you buy at Harbor Freight. You can connect that in place of where the coil would be, and just connect your probe to a positive side of your coil. Have the other lead go into the blue wire, and then crank your engine over. See if your probe actually blinks. If it blinks, and you've got everything here that you need. You could have a coil that's bad. If it doesn't blink, then you need to go back and follow out your distributor lines. Make sure your actual pickup is good in your distributor. If I recall, the distributor pickup in a 7778 280Z is supposed to be like 750 ohms, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how you can ohm out your coil. Make sure that's good. And you can also, if you have an oscilloscope, you can actually look and see if you've got a signal on your scope as you rotate the engine over straight from the distributor lines. You can pull them out of the little out of this little terminal block right here, disconnect them, hook them to a scope, and you can actually see if you've got any kind of signal from your pickup. Roughly, I think it's around 1.2 to 2 point something volts roughly when you look at these with a scope. If it's real weak, that could be your problem. So you may have a pickup coil issue if that's the case. Otherwise, follow out your harness. You can do a continuity test between your terminal block to your ignition module inside your harness of your car. Make sure you got all these connections, and that's just a really easy way to identify. Or you can just do a simple bench test like I'm doing here to rule out all your harness to make sure it's not this box. So this is just kind of a bench test for the box itself, the way I'm doing it here. Also to keep in mind that your fuel injection system actually gets a clock off this box. So if you don't have ignition, you won't have fuel injection. So keep that in mind as well. If you're troubleshooting a car that hasn't been ran in a long time, you can kind of work backwards this way. Always start with ignition and then go to the fuel injection. Alright, so a little extra bonus for you here of footage. I'm actually going to show you real quick how this 7576 280Z ignition module wires in. So of course we have wiring terminals on this one. You can see just unscrew these, screw in the terminal, and that's how you actually remove this one. But here's your wire up here. So you got black, which of course is your earth or your chassis ground. We got black white, which is your power. If we follow it out, it goes over here to your battery, your ignition switch here. So that's your actual power. White is actually the advanced timing line. So what it does here is it looks at the thermotime switch, and it's usually closed until 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So your car will be in electronic advance until it gets up to 140 degrees. This thermotime switch is located on the thermostat housing, and basically it goes to the advanced control relay. And so it's on when this thing's cold, and then when it's off, it of course, when this opens up, it turns off this relay, and it connects it to the positive side of your battery as well. The same line that we see here is fused. Well, it goes over here, and then you got your L, which is blue once again. L always represents blue. That goes to your actual ignition coil. Now what you'll see different here is that we've got the ballast resistor. So the negative side, of course, connects right through here to this terminal of the ballast resistor. But the ballast resistor is actually working on the positive side. So just kind of keep that in mind for a 7576. You got a ballast resistor to protect the coil. So there's that. Then we got red and green, just like what you saw in the distributor lines of the 7778. So this comes over here to your distributor in the terminal block under the hood. There's your distributor pickups with your reluctor. Same thing there. And then so red and green are your retarded wires. And then brown wire, this one right here, is actually your advanced coil pickup, which goes over here and ties in right here. So just a little extra bit of information there for you. Now I'll show you why the 74 is going to take some research on my end. So now we turn our attention to the 74 260Z. I've got the original service manual here, and you'll see why this is so much more difficult to test. So if we go here and look at this module, there really is no good reference for the layout. As you can see, they have this little special proprietary box that you plug in to test this particular module. And of course you can still see kind of the layout of how it works. So it's got the advance and retard coil as well here for the automatic manual, for the automatic version. And so it's got basically the same stuff, but it's a little bit different layout. Once again though, you can see you got that ballast resistor here. But basically if you look anything in this manual, it wants you to go to this little box and do a test. So that's kind of what limits you on this one. Then if we go to the schematics, which is in the back of this manual, which I was hoping this would be a little bit more clear. We'll just open one of these up here. It don't matter which one we're on. So they show you the distributor, but they don't show you the pickups. So they kind of leave you hanging on that one. They got the thermal transmitter, which is part of your module as well in this particular case. But they don't show you like the actual pickup or the reluctor. So it makes it a lot more challenging. And then of course when we get over here to the harness, there's your coil. So you can still follow out your coil wiring. So it's still blue. Once again, the coil wire is blue for the negative. But when we get up here to the module, of course you can see you got to follow all of this out. And then there's your module right there, the transistor module. But it's a little bit different color routing. So black, white, I'm guessing that'd be your positive like it is on the others. But like I said, I just got to sit down and really research this thing. But I'll make another video on this module once I figure that all out. I've just got to do some reverse engineering on this thing. And like I say, my harness wasn't in this car. So I'm kind of stuck not really having a harness to actually physically backtrace and reverse engineer this. But I will figure this out. I'm an electronics guy, so I will figure this out eventually. But there's that. But I just want to show you that real quick and kind of show you the differences of why the 74 260Z may have been a one-year car. For that reason, it's not very open to troubleshooting like the 75, 76, and then 77, 78 280Zs. Of course, my 260Z is going to have all the 75, 76 era harness in it, so it's actually going to be a 280Z in a 260Z body is really what it's going to be. But anyways, I hope this helps some of you guys out. Appreciate you watching, and there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care.